Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is another top 10 episode, which means it must be Friday. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and as you can see or hear, depending how you get this content, I'm joined by my illustrious co-host, Mr. Adam Cousins. Adam, happy Friday. How are you, my friend?
Happy Friday. You are now, your out of office is on, right?
Out of office is on, mate. I think I've got 2 more pods with you guys, maybe 1 more while I'm out in jolly old Spain. But yes, I fly to Spain this weekend for 2 weeks of sitting by a swimming pool, drinking loads of alcohol, eating loads of food, and doing not a lot really, mate, and chilling out for 2 weeks.
But before that, you do put priorities first. You are going to see Dunstable first.
I am watching the mighty Dunstable play tomorrow, and then going straight to Gatwick, which didn't go down too well in my house. But hey, here we are. We are back with another top 10 episode, my friend. One that I know you've been looking forward to. This one, top 10 heel turns. Mate, I can't tell you how hard I've gone backwards, and I've done a million heel turns just doing my heel turn list. It's been really hard to do this one because when you look back over the course of the wrestling industry and the wrestling business since you and I have been a fan, wow, how do you break this down for the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the present day, the heel? I was like, this list could be the top 20. And I think still people will be like, hang on, you missed this one out. Or, this one. I think this one could be one of the most subjective. You know, a lot of people can your top 10, your top 5 wrestlers, Austin, Hogan, Rock, blah, 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 you kind of all have them in here and about. This one, mate, I don't know how you struggled, mate, but my honorary mentions have probably made your list, or if Dave was here, it might have made his list, or Parker's list. But yeah, my honorary mentions, I'm looking at them now, even I'm thinking, why have I not got that in there? But then I look at my list, I'm like, well, I can't really leave that one out, mate. Did you struggle with this one?
Yeah, it's just because there's been so many. It's just trying to align ones of importance that meant something. That was the other issue, because what did it mean to the wrestling world? What did it mean to wrestling
at the time?
That time, so it was always difficult, but I got there just.
I struggled, but let's crack on with it then, mate. Top 10 heel turns. Who have you got at number 10?
It's a bit of a recent one, to be fair. I put when Kevin Owens turned on Jericho, the festival, the friendship, and all that. The whole build up to that was really, really good. I think the blow off at Mania wasn't great, but the comedy aspect, the way they built to it, they teased it, and then next week they were fine, and then it was all good, and then it was a couple of weeks later. So that gets 10 just for that reason. It's the most recent one in memory that I can think of that I went, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, mate, that was a good one, actually, because you think they'd built that storyline up so well. The friendship, the whole list, it was really, really good. So, but the only thing with them kind of storylines is the longer they go on, we're doing it right now with certain story with MJF and Adam Cole. The longer they go on, we're all sitting there, maybe the modern internet era, we're all sitting there going, heel turns coming. I think back in the day, it was more of a surprise. That's something we'll get to, and maybe a few of my lists that I put down were definitely way before the internet. But no, good start, mate. Number 10 for me is when Stone Cold Steve Austin joined the Alliance at Invasion.
Ah, interesting.
Because that flipped a whole... I know the Invasion angle didn't really work as well as they wanted it to. Because you didn't have Goldberg, you didn't have Bischoff at the start, because it was Paul Heyman really. That was the main catalyst of the Invasion. Him and Shane ran WCW, Vince was in the WWF. But when Austin joined the Alliance, I think Kurt Angle had Booker T in the ankle lock, didn't he, at Invasion? And Austin come in, kicked Kurt Angle in the head. Everyone's like, hang on a minute, put Booker T on Angle, and that was it. They're away to the races. For me, I was just like, wow, they turned Austin. This is Stone Cold Steve Austin. You're trying to make him a bad guy, even though every single person across the globe, this wasn't just people in that arena. He was loved everywhere. Austin 316. For WWE to even attempt to do this, and I think Austin himself was quite keen. I remember seeing an interview with him, and he was like, "I'd like to give this heel stuff a go, a bit like The Rock, a bit like Taker. They've all done it." Yeah, I think as a wrestler, it'd be interesting to speak to some of the guys that we know now. What do they prefer being, babyface or heel? Be very surprised if many of them say babyface.
I mean, it's easy to be a heel.
I'd love being it. Honestly, if you imagine it, I would love to do it. You just get to be an absolute arsehole. Yeah. So for me, mate, number 10 was Austin joining the Alliance activation. Really good.
Good one.
Number 9, dude.
It's quite low down the list, to be fair, but it was when Seth Rollins turned on the Shield.
Nice.
Low. It's low.
Oh, mind you, I can't talk. You'll see why. Yeah,
it's low. But there's just so many. So I was just trying to. I mean, to be fair, this was as high as 4 once. So it's.
Oh wow! You've really chopped and changed this one.
Chopped and changed it.
You're like me, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when he done it, he obviously joined the Authority. Roman went his way. Ambrose / Moxley had his run, and then obviously they've all gone off to have brilliant careers. Although Moxley's obviously now in AEW, but yeah, that was probably the biggest one since probably not the year 2000, near enough, or the late 05s. That's probably been the biggest heel turn since then. I mean, the biggest heel turn that would have ever happened, had it happened, was Cena, but it never did.
You know what? I'd love to have seen him as a heel, but in a way, I kind of get it. Well, they've done it because he said many times in interviews, kids are his.
Yeah, Make-A-Wish was the thing, wasn't it?
I think if he wasn't so over in the Make-A-Wish, they might have done it. That for me is the only time where outside of wrestling has kind of dictated a wrestling storyline. They've probably gone this, oh my God, if we turn him ill, and then we send him down the road to a hospital to confront a sick kid, and I kind of get it. But no, good choice, mate. Number 9 for me is The Rock turning heel the first time we done it, when he went to Hollywood Rock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I thought that was again, with Austin and The Rock, when you turn these big guys, you're like, they're so loved. You know, he'd come out of the Rock. He kind of went back to that. I loved The Rock in the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, he was great.
I thought he was brilliant. But then he's in the Nation of Domination. They flipped it because he was getting more over every week. And then Farouk, and that's how that whole storyline. And then The Rock was born, and off he went to the races. So when they flipped him, and he went he embraced he had done the Mummy movie. Everyone was like, well, you're off to Hollywood. And WWE went, okay, do you know what we'll do? We'll embrace this. We'll turn him. We'll make him, Hollywood Rock. And the storylines they done with Goldberg debuted then and had a great match with The Rock. There was all kinds of things going. I mean, he had many people debut on him. Chris Jericho debuted on The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, Austin had their one more last match, didn't it?
They had their last match, and Rock was a heel in that match. I don't get wrong, Rock's he's my guy, but I loved Rock, Hollywood Rock. I thought they do this a lot. They've done it with Matt Hardy and Edge. They're like, there's talk now of the whole CM Punk and the Young Bucks. Are they actually gonna push that into a story? I mean, Dave and the Parker might know a little bit more about that than me and you, but is that somewhere AEW want to go? Like Eric Bischoff says, that controversy will create cash. Imagine the storyline that AEW could get out of that if they've done it. I don't know if it seems to be a thing that they don't do in wrestling anymore. They don't real life drama, they don't kind of back in the Attitude Era, they were like, fuck it, do it. Edge and Matt Hardy on TV every week, legitimately trying to kick the shit out of each other. I mean, you're an Edge guy. You sat there, and it was all, these are long before dirt sheets and stuff. They legitimately hated each other, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah, it was. So number 9 for me, mate, is a Rock turning heel. Number 8.
This one was quite a long time ago, but it set up one of the biggest moments in wrestling, and that was when Andre the Giant turned on Hogan. Obviously joined forces with Bobby Heenan, and that set up WrestleMania 3, and we all know where that went. And MJF now comes out and says he slammed a big £900 big bill in front of 90,000. Hogan legitimately done it to Andre, so that for me gets number 8. It's obviously sometimes it's about the fallout from the heel turn more than the heel turn itself, and that was definitely one of those ones where the fallout for it was a big payoff. And it really put over Hulk Hogan at that point as the ultimate babyface in wrestling.
Maybe a show down the line, that the top 10 moments in wrestling.
Oh yeah,
slamming of Andre the Giant. I'm not, kind of giving away that's got to be in the. I swear, Dave, when you're listening to this, if that ain't it's not going to be his top 3. He's very young. Isn't he?
No, his top 3 will be Kenny Omega giving their one-winged angel to Moxley or something.
Yeah, something happened during the COVID era at AEW. I don't know, but yeah, that's in wrestling moments. Hogan slamming Andre. I mean, maybe more for our generation. People now, I'm guessing if you're going into chat to a 17, 18-year-old WWE fan now, and you go, "Oh, do you remember?" But Hogan, looking at me like, "What? These kids today don't know their." And I sound like an old man. Number 8 for me, real quick, is Seth Shield.
Yeah,
kind of discussed why for the moment that it was, the impact that it had because the Shield was so over. I think WWE do this really well. When someone is really over, but they kind of know that they can tweak it and get more out of it, they're like, let's turn them heel. I mean, I don't know where your list is going to go. I haven't got it in mind, but the whole Batista, thumbs up, thumbs down.
That was good.
That was a big honorary mention for me. That was another one. But WWE again.
Wasn't a heel turn though, was it? That was Orton.
It was Orton, really. But it
was a face turn when the heel turn.
They just kind of know when to do it right. They get lots of things wrong in wrestling, but for me, like the whole Seth and the Shield thing, perfect timing. Triple H standing the other side of the ring, picks up the chair, bam, and Moxie's face was just like the look. On Moxie's face was brilliant. I thought it was good. So number 8 for me, mate. Number 7.
Number 7 was when Austin sold his soul to the devil at WrestleMania.
7.
Yeah.
I didn't think Dave was in today. I thought he had the day off. 7?
It is 7, man. It is 7. But because it didn't really work. It created a lot of comedy and it created a shock value. But he was still getting cheered as Steve Austin. They were doing good segments with Angle, funny segments with Angle, admittedly. For me, it was a shock factor, but it didn't have a payoff because it didn't really work. In my opinion, anyway, it just didn't work.
Hello, Dave. Yeah, you're safe, mate. Yeah, you can come. No, each to their own, mate. No, it was 7. Wow. 7 for me, mate. You're probably you'll atone to this. We were, mind you, me and you were only 9 years old. The Mega Powers. Hogan turning on Savage with the whole, I think it was at a Saturday night main event or main event.
Elizabeth, right?
Elizabeth. Hogan carried her backstage and Randy Savage was like, "What are you doing?" And then bam, and again, legitimate beef in real life, not wrestling. Savage thought that Hogan was legitimately trying it on with Miss Elizabeth, and apparently they did. Obviously, a lot of people that know the wrestling will know this. They didn't talk for 2 to 3 years. Once this storyline had run its course, they only pretty much made up not long before Randy passed away.
Apparently so.
Apparently they properly made up. It's not like they just went, "Okay, we see each other in a building, we'll get on." They legitimately kind of like Ultimate Warrior and Vince McMahon kind of made up. But legitimately that Savage and Hogan.
Surely to be getting Dave's top 3, which is he's out at the moment. But
I'm gutted he ain't here for this. Do you know it? Did he tell you? Did he tell you any of his?
I'm literally just waiting for it to come through.
Honestly, please. Is this him messaging now?
Yeah.
Breaking news, lads, while we're here. See, I agree with his 3. Austin, hands to the devil. It's Dave, I'm agree. 2, Seth and the Shield.
Yeah, and 1, Hogan, the third man.
Okay, we won't get into it too much because it might spoil our list. But Dave, you've done well there, mate. Actually, not too bad there. But for me, the whole Hogan turn, and they had a great storyline. I think they ended up having the match at SummerSlam. Yeah, SummerSlam, weren't it? Mania, because that was Mania.
Mega Powers Explode was still.
That's it. Yeah. They had some great matches. Savage, Macho Man Randy Savage, one of the best ever. He'd be such a good person. I always think now, imagine the minds that could be around in wrestling still.
We could have.
Mate, could you imagine?
Even Piper.
It'd be brilliant. But like Roddy Piper, he had some good heel turns, by the way. Honorary mentions. Randy Savage. Imagine these guys right now. You'd want them backstage involved in the wrestling industry. It's such a shame that we haven't got Eddie Guerrero. Imagine Eddie helping out with the Dominic Mysterio storyline right now.
I'd love it.
Oh my God, he'd be all over that. He'd be like, "Let me put this together for you. It'd be amazing." So for me, mate, the turn that Savage hit Hogan over the head with the belt backstage while Miss Elizabeth was holding her ankle because she got hurt and Hogan carried her back. But that was number 7 for me, mate. Number 6.
That was when Triple H turned on DX. Joined on the corporation. DX were one of my biggest things at the time, so that's a personal one for me. Was just
no, that's a good one. I hadn't even got that. That's not even a minor. See, there's so many that I mean, that was mate, that was a good time to be a wrestling fan, and the whole corporation storyline. Obviously, you got the Bloodline storyline now. That corporation storyline, that went on for
ages.
God, years.
Yeah.
That went on for legit. We talk about now the bloodline. You know, when you kind of now rack your brains and do things like this, you're kind of like, oh yeah, the corporate ministry. Yeah, that went on for ever.
Yeah,
that was incredible.
Naked Midian.
Jesus Christ, I don't need that image in made on a Friday evening. But yeah, there's some great storylines there, mate. Number 6 for me was the 1994 Royal Rumble. You know what I'm about to say?
Is it Savage Warrior?
No, that was WrestleMania 7. 94 Rumble, Owen turning on Brett.
Oh, do you know what? There's that
set up WrestleMania 10, didn't it?
Yeah, was that when he was Bob Backlund? They had him in chicken wing for about. That's it.
Yeah. They had and at the Rumble though, they had the match against the Mountie and his tag team partner. It's going to come to me. Anyway, it ended in some squash where the titles Brett and Owen didn't get the titles. Brett was in the ring and Owen swept his leg because at the Survivor Series previous to that, Owen had knocked Brett into the guardrail and they teased it then, if I remember, and that led into WrestleMania 10, obviously Owen beating Brett, but the same night Brett winning the WWF title, and then that got incorporated into the Owen Brett storyline. I think Owen would have been. You know, we mentioned Jake's and the Snake the other day. Imagine what Owen Hart would have been like as a WWF champion. I think it'd have been incredible.
Be like now being here.
Oh man, I think he'd be another one. Imagine him as him. We said it the other day to Jake, British Bulldog, never got the title. Yeah. Owen. You know, the heel turn on Brett, whole Brett and Owen storyline was incredible. I'm not a nugget, you know, and it was Owen Hart is one of, I reckon his wrestling mind was, you can tell he was a heart, but I reckon he was next level. I reckon Brett in the ring was the GOAT, you know. Owen's mind though, from you know, and apparently all been what we hear is he had so heavily involved with him, and like it'd be interesting if we get Russo back on. Yeah. So ask him about that time and say, look, how much input did Owen and everyone have on these stories? Because it seems to me his wrestling mind was incredible. So yeah, for me, Owen turning on Brett at the 94 Rumble, I'll never forget that. Because this, you have to remember as well, now we sit here and me and you will text each other during the day. Oh, you've seen this online? This is long before online. Yeah. These were legitimate. You're watching it. Me and you probably weren't even watching it live then. We probably had to wait, and God knows how we got it on VHS or something. Yeah. And you're like, oh, holy fuck, this, I can't, you know, now it's just like, you know, you pick up your phone and it'll be like, oh yeah, so-and-so's turning heel tonight. And you're like, oh great, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Yeah, these are the days before, spoiler alert. So yeah, number 6 for me, mate, was Owen turning on Brett. Number 5, my man, we're into. You already mentioned it. It was the Mega Powers exploding. Oh, high for you, yes. Yes, that was the one. That was important. But you kind of covered all of it off, so it was quite a quick one to do. But that was number 5. My number 5 is, you mentioned at the start the impact it had at the time. So do you remember when Hogan come back the SmackDown and he come back as the red and yellow and he got the standard ovation for a good 20 minutes, and that run was again, we kind of all got to live out our childhoods one more time. For me, that was his legitimate last great one. They put the strap on him for a while until he lost it at King of the Ring. Yep. He was literally, it was like being back in that late 80s, early 90s. He was over at every building he went. And then they were like, we're going to team him up with Shawn Michaels. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking incredible. This is going to be amazing. And Monday Night Raw, Shawn Michaels super kicked Hulk Hogan after the match. And I was like, this is amazing. And them two were away to the races. So yeah, I had HBK super kicking Hogan 2005 Raw at my number 5. And the best selling ever done at SummerSlam that year by Shawn Michaels. Oh, he had to. Yeah, God, yeah, bless him. He was doing somersaults after somersaults just after a lockup. Yeah, he was, man, Shawn Michaels, what a dude. Yeah, so that was my number 5, mate. Number 4? Number 4 for me was The Rock joining the corporation. Very, very, again, Rock was really over at that point. And then bang, Vince and Shane. He joined up with them, and they formed he joined the corporation. So massive moment in the Attitude Era, and certainly one I'll always remember. The storyline that I remember from that turn was The Rock throwing Austin off a bridge. Yeah. That was, remember watching that live? Yeah. Or did we have Raw live then? No. Or did we have to wait for the Friday? It was the Friday, wasn't it? Yeah. I remember watching that. My mate Nick, who commented on Dave, or he's not a fan of you, Dave, but your AEW review, by the way, I got a scathing text message that I was showing to you guys earlier. But I remember watching that with my mate Nick. We used to go around his house every Friday and watch Raw. There was me, Nick, my mate Rodders. Yes, he's called Rodders because he looks like Rodney from Only Fools and Horses. And yeah, watching that. And I remember that being like, wow, you know, that was brilliant. I mean, back then you had, there's some great stories on. The Rock and Taker went at it, buried alive, mate. Yeah. Oh, brilliant, mate. Yeah, great choice, mate. Number 4 for me was when Triple H and Stephanie first joined forces and they turned Steph.
The wedding, right?
The wedding had done. And I think it was a Raw. Vince was laid out Sparko in the ring. Triple H picks up the sledgehammer like he's going to hit Stephanie, and she turns round, and everyone's like, Triple H is going to, and even it got everyone because the smile come on Steph's face. They embraced. Boom. The Helmsley McMahon era was off and running. And that was another one that ran for, Jesus, how long? Technically, it's still running now.
Yeah, still, yeah, just a different way.
There's little hunters and Steph's maybe taking on this mantle, but for me at the time, like you said at the start of the show, for me, I was like, this is going to be brilliant. You've got the daughter on one side, you've got the dad. I think Linda was still involved in storylines back then. Shane was still flat. This is when the whole family, the McMahon family, this is when they were on their A game, and I thought getting Triple H into it was perfect, mate. So yeah, for me, number 4 was Stephanie joining up with Triple H. I thought that was incredible. Again, so many to choose from. The top 3, here we go. This will be interesting. Should we read out Dave's top 3 while we're here?
Cool.
So Dave has got, at number 3, Dave's got Stone Cold WrestleMania 17, Vince McMahon. Number 2, he's got Seth and The Shield. And number 1, he's got Hogan as the third man. Dave, you can keep your job for another week, my friend. Who have you got at number 3, Mr. Cousins?
One heel turn that basically captivated a 30-odd year career was when Shawn Michaels split the Rockers up and super kicked Mike Jannetty through. Oh, he super kicked him and then put him through the window.
But that's my number 3 as well.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I've got a feeling our top 3. No, actually, no. You've said one of mine. Yeah, for me, that was the. Remember when you think back to like the first heel turn that you remember?
Yeah.
For me, that's got to be it for me. There were ones before it, but significance, you know, and it's still played now when they do things about heel turns. WWE still play that now. There's talk of actually Marty Jannetty doing some work with the WWE recently. I don't know.
I think Sean said he's always welcome.
Yeah, there was something that getting him involved in NXT. I think is mine again. We come back to wrestling minds, but yeah, I remember that the barbershop, the super. If people haven't seen it, go on YouTube, type in HBK Super Kicks Marty Jannetty. Marty Jannetty will be another one. Hopefully if we get him on the show, that would be a great thing because he didn't benefit from that storyline as much as I thought he would. Do you remember that? They had a match, didn't they? And then they tried to push Jannetty. He had the IC title for a while.
Yeah.
They put the title on him for a very short time. Remember the white one, the white strap.
The white strap one.
Jannetty won that. I think he might have beat Razor or something for it. But again, it kind of fizzled out, and then Jannetty unfortunately had lots of issues outside the ring, and we all know what happened to Shawn Michaels.
That's where you're the Jannetty of the team gets
mentioned now. Yeah, it's still mentioned now. Top 2, here we go. Number 2, mate. Who you got?
Well, this was probably still a lot of people's number 1s when Hogan joined the NWO.
2.
Number 2.
What? Okay.
There was obviously, funnily enough, I think Meltzer was the only one that got this one right.
Yeah, great one.
Dave. Yeah, hello, Dave. He had he used to have a premium rate number in America. You know, the hotline.
Can we talk?
Sorry. Premium hotlines. Premium hotline. Don't worry, I'm not talking.
I thought the show was. I was like, take your Rachel's out. I thought the show was taking a whole. I thought the show was taking a heel turn then.
And he said it was out of Sting and Hogan.
Okay.
Which look, this was the day when you didn't have all of this stuff that we have now. It was, when although to be fair, when he come down, Heenan, if you listen on commentary, gave it away. He was like, "But whose side is he on?" And you're like, "Why would you say that?"
If you thought he was staying as
Hogan. But then he always used to dislike Hogan, so there was all you could always give it that. But that got number 2 for me. But it was just a moment that will always, and how many times it got played since.
Oh, even now, if I've said, doing my research for this show, I think I watched that just to refresh, and yes, you can never not watch that. Number 2 for me, purely because my 2, or everyone knows Austin Rock. Mine is, I'm kind of with Dave on this. He's had it in his top 3. Austin shaking hands with the devil. I never thought I'd see it. I never thought they'd do it. I'm kind of with you though. It didn't get as over as they thought it would. They kind of turned it in. But I remember watching that WrestleMania, thinking, no fucking way. I mean, I've watched wrestling half my life. There's no way this is happening. Not a chance. And then Vince puts the chair into the ring, and you look at Austin, you think, nah, he's just going to belt Vince a bit, because that storyline had gone on for ever years. Again, we come back to the bloodline now. The Attitude Era, that Austin and Vince storyline went on for donkey's years. It only up until a couple of years ago, Vince took his last worst Stone Cold Stunner he's ever taken, but he was getting stunned left, right, and center every single week. So to see that at WrestleMania, Vince slides the chair in. Even me now, as the biggest Austin mark ever, I think, again, I might have been watching this with Nick and the boys going, nah, this ain't happening. And then bam. And you're like, whoa. Okay. And you could see that whole thing is that it didn't get, you'll probably remember
in Texas.
It didn't get the reaction it wanted to in the well, I say arena stadium kind of thing. Was it? Everyone was still Texas. Austin got the pin and he still got cheered, didn't he? Where everyone was thinking don't get me wrong, there were boos.
Yeah.
But I remember you could kind of see Vince and Austin. I think I've heard Austin speak about this. He was kind of wary of the reaction because it was in Texas, it's his home state, and he was still getting cheered. And you could see Vince thinking, fuck, maybe we shouldn't. If they had any sense, they would have left that a week or 2 weeks. Yeah. Austin would have celebrated. They could have done anything. They could have brought The Rock out, and they could have done a segment where they're back in, I don't know where they are, in Canada or wherever. And then Austin turns heel. To do it in Texas was a brave move. I'm with you on that, though. I don't think that storyline, but for me, for pure shock value, I was like, fucking no way they're ever going to join these two up. Ever. I mean, Jesus, they were releasing VHSs back in the day. Do you remember the Austin v. McMahon?
Yeah, I got it.
I've still got mine. Austin's tied up in the ropes and Vince is in his face. That's the cover. They done on the WWE Network now. I never in a million years thought they would turn them two together. But when you think about it now, if it had worked, it would have been incredible. But it just didn't work. And like you say, Kurt Angle got involved and Jimmy Cracon and I don't care. And all that malarkey. Here we go. No, I'm interested to see your number one now. I thought I could guess it. But here we go. Number one.
The number one. So I suppose this is subjective because was he a face at the time? But it was when Vince screwed Brett in Calgary.
Oh, dude. That's yes.
Because obviously it was. I mean, look, listen. As far as we're concerned, it was that for me was the big. That was for me was like the. I've still got goosebumps now, like when it happened. Because and to this day, I mean, everyone says it's definitely happened. It definitely was a shoot. Blah blah. But
what do you say to the people that say it was a work?
I would say I don't think that they would have let anything happen to Owen what it did, because Brett left and Owen tried to go with him. Brett's said no, stay WWE because you're under contract, and then Owen was like, well, I don't really want to do all this shit, but I'm going to do it because I've turned down a lot of stuff before. So there's all them sort of incremental stuff that comes into it. So I would just say, without being disrespectful, ask Martha Hart what she thinks, because she's the one that
ask yourself why the Owen Hart Memorial was on AEW and not WWE TV.
Well, exactly that. I mean, that's going away from the turn. But I mean, look, Vince wasn't even really a character at that point. So there is an argument saying, well, he wasn't a character. But in terms of that and what happened from there, that brought into the bay Mr. McMahon, which is the biggest heel character in wrestling. So that's my number one. And I just think it's because he was always a fan-friendly, what a maneuver and all that crap. And then that night,
and the Wrestling with Shadows documentary, and still in my opinion, the best wrestling documentary ever. Apart from the Louis Theroux at WCW was really good. Bretton. Here's one. Do you think Brett really needed to? He had shit tons of money anyway. We always say this, like creatively, you'd already hear kind of bad things coming out of WCW. That what they had done with the guys that had already gone over there. So in Brett's mind, why doesn't he just take the deal then that Vince is offering, which, let's be honest, still would have been a good deal. And Brett's even said this now, as soon as he walked into WCW, he's like, what the fuck? And apparently he'd only been there like 2 weeks, and he was, what have I done? But then you come, and don't get me wrong, Brett's my guy. I love him. Greatest in-ring wrestler of all time. Why didn't he just take the money that Vince was offering? I know he wanted a 10-year deal, creative control, and yada, yada, and Vince couldn't offer at WCW. But it always amazes me how maybe he wasn't a multi-millionaire then. Look at things like Jordan Henderson now in the football world over here in the UK. People always say to me, well, he's doing it for his grandkids, kids. He said, well, he got enough money to look after them.
Yeah.
You know, for me, Brett didn't. I don't know. I might be speaking completely. I'd love to. Hopefully, one day we get him on the show. I'd love to say to him, "Do you regret going to WCW for what was that? Don't get me wrong, it's a huge amount of money, $3.5 million. But did he really need? We're talking a different time. We're talking '96.
I think it was. I think the wrestling business.
You know, wrestling business was not. It's nothing like it was now. But for me, I think if he'd stayed with WWF, then.
Well, if you think Kevin Nash said that him and Scott Hall were on $1,500 guaranteed.
Mm. Yeah.
WCW offered them 700 and 800,000 guaranteed for less dates.
And creative control.
And also favored nations, meaning if they found somebody else for $1 million, they'd be getting $1 million.
They had to get, that was the big thing back then. I think WCW gave way too much creative control to these guys coming in. Nash, Hall, Ric Flair when he went back. They were like, Flair was booking his own matches. And, it'd be, again, if we get Russo back on, it'd be interesting to ask him. Yeah, Bischoff. If we get, we're getting to meet Bischoff in, 2 months. Me and you are going to meet him, so it'd be interesting if we can just bend his ear for a couple of minutes. And I know the Q&A's on. We're going to be there. I might put my hand up and say, look, do you be interested to hear his side of it? Do you regret giving some of these wrestlers creative control? Because in the end, it was kind of your own downfall.
Yeah,
it's a detriment to your company because you gave too much of these guys control. And like you say, they could sit at home on their ass and not really do anything. And then you fast forward and you get things like the finger point of doom and WCW. And then Vince basically just swooped in and picked up what was left, really. It was either Vince swept in and took the talent or WCW doesn't exist anyway. WWE tried their best with the whole invasion thing, like you meant earlier, but without Goldberg and Sting. That was never going to work. And Bischoff, that was never going to work. That's an honorary mention when Vince brought Bischoff in to be the GM. That's a fucking company heel turn. You've gone from trying to put the man out of business.
Does that make our top 10 oh my god moments that we're going to do later? I've just worked out.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, welcome to the top 10 oh my god moments. Dave, you're not here for this one even. No, I'm joking. It could be again, but that was a whole wow. Bischoff's on WWF TV. Anyway, number one for me, no surprise, Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
Ruining my entire fucking childhood, dropping a leg drop on Macho Man Randy Savage. And to be fair, though, quite possibly starting the greatest wrestling faction that's ever been, the NWO.
Definitely.
There's not really loads that needs to be said about this, mate. It kicked off a time in wrestling. Here's a question for you. How do you think that turn would have gone? Because up until the moment of Hogan actually doing it, even he wasn't sure if he was going to do it.
Yes.
In your opinion, how would that turn have gone if it was Sting and they tried to do the NWO with Sting?
It wouldn't have worked. Someone, I think even Cornette, this was going back even longer than that, was saying that, and this is just about a world title thing. Sting, even in the 80s, was over, but couldn't sell. Was never would never put bums on seats. So would it have worked? No. It might have worked later on when he was pretending to be, in the rafters and stuff, and then he done it potentially. But we wouldn't have got what we had got if Sting had done it. That's no disrespect to Sting. He just wouldn't.
No, I mean we had the NWO Wolfpack, which he was still one of the greatest theme tunes of all time.
Yes.
Which I know Dave was very high on. But yeah, I'm just wondering if Hogan had never. It's gone. Nah, I can't. Hogan doing it then is like kind of what you said earlier. Cena doing it 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that? Even just thinking of imagine Cena running a faction.
There was an opportunity. It was Nexus. That was the idea pitched, that Cena was ultimately going to be unveiled as leader of Nexus.
And then that's another storyline that died on its ass. That potentially Wade Barrett, all them guys. Daniel Bryan was the Miz. Could have been really good. But yeah, for me, Hogan it kicked off a time in wrestling. And I think that turned, I don't know what you think. Do you think that it saved WCW?
Well, it put them on the map and it gave them, at that time, I think were they on prime time? Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. They were on Mondays.
They had to think of something that was going to, put the WWE out of business. And that's
Do you think they thought the NWO was going to be as big as it was? Because for 86 weeks, cheers, Eric, you can have that one, mate. They whooped WWF's ass. All and mainly because of one faction. That wasn't, and I'm not saying that to be detrimental to anyone else. You take the NWO and DX out of that whole storyline before the Austins and the Rocks and Mick Foley and all them come along.
Yeah,
that NWO faction and DX, them two, that was a lot of the Attitude Era. And then you got Austin, Goldberg, you got Mick Foley, you got the Undertaker, you know. But they had all them, all being why they had all of them on that side, all being why on this side, all it was the NWO. Yeah. So WWE were going, right, we'll build Austin, we'll build Rock, we'll build Mankind, we'll build Kane. WCW,
Kane, not Blue Kane.
Yeah, not Blue Kane. WCW were just going, okay, well, we'll add a 64th member to the NWO. Yeah. And then Goldberg come along, and again that flipped the script, because you're like, oh fuck, they've got the NWO and Goldberg, which culminated in stupid idiots putting it on free TV, which I know Eric Bischoff fucking regrets to this day.
Yeah,
Hogan and Goldberg was put live on Nitro instead of a fucking pay-per-view. And I've heard, and again, this might be like, if I get a chance, I'll put my hand up when we meet Eric. Do you regret not putting that match on a Starrcade, on a big pay-per-view? He's surely got to say yes, hasn't he?
You'd think so.
Why would you put that on just normal TV?
Well, we get it a lot now. Nowadays, I mean, nowadays we get that.
Nowadays, it's not as. Yeah, you think the Attitude Era, we had Austin and Rock versus Mankind and Taker as the main event on Raw.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I get so irate sometimes when we do these Raw reviews, because I'm like, man, I remember when this was really good.
During the war.
You know, during the war, the Attitude Era, we had Austin and Goldberg. And for me, the Hogan, it's so brave, because do you think the red and yellow was more as over in WCW as they would have liked? Because they took it from the WWF, where the red and yellow, we all know Hogan. That's why when we mentioned earlier, when they brought him back to Shawn Michaels, that run went well. Do you think, and even I think of Hogan said this and Bischoff in interviews, do you think the red and yellow kind of died in its arse in WCW quicker than they thought it would have?
Might have done. I mean, I think when you say the name Hulk Hogan, it doesn't really, you're going to put bums on seats, and then, back in the 95s anyway. So it might have done. I mean, I didn't think it was any less over than before. And I think otherwise the heel turn wouldn't have worked. So the heel turn was also him turn his back on all the Hulkamaniacs from WWE.
Oh, there was literally, kids up and down the globe all going, no prayers, no vitamins.
Can you imagine if Cena had done it? The kids, oh, jeez.
Dude, man, I'm disappointed that we never got to see it, but I can.
He was heel once, but not after that long run.
No, and he mentioned it, didn't he, on his promo on Raw? Maybe a heel turn. Yeah, brilliant. But dude, another top 10 is in the books. Another one is done. Hope everyone's enjoyed it. Go and check us out as always. We can't thank everyone enough for the support on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. Twitter, just type in @HTT Buckle. On YouTube, just type in the Hit the Turnbuckle podcast. You can find us. All the shows are on there. Myself and Adam and maybe Dave, if he can get
the alarm up.
If he can get the alarm, we'll be back tomorrow for our SmackDown review show. We will have that out to you by no later than 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. So tune in then, and that'll be my last one for a couple. I'm going to try and sneak in some. I don't know where she is. I'm going to try and sneak in the SummerSlam review. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Adam Cousins. Till next time, everybody. Whoa. Buckle down. Stay safe.